Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar series by Brickwork Ratings. We have had a host of web conferences on topics ranging from the current trends in the BFSI world to the world's views of leading economists on the impact of COVID on the Indian economy. We've also had webinars on challenges ailing the Indian MSMEs, the leather and sports goods industry, and the release proposed for the power sector. Today, we bring to you a webinar on the Indian Farm Reforms 2020. Our Honorable President Ramnath Kovind gave his assent last Sunday to the three bills for reforms in agriculture, which were passed by the Parliament last week. These bills were passed amid protests by farmers' organizations across the country. We have had farmers in Haryana and Punjab agitating on the roads, a union minister resigning, and several state governments protesting against these bills. The three bills, which is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Bill 2020, which aims to permit the sale of agricultural produce outside the mandis regulated by the APMCs, the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill 2020, which provides for contract farming, the Essential Commodities Amendment Bill 2020, which deregulates the production, supply, and distribution of food items, several food items. Now, this is what we have just understood absolutely, in layman terms. Now, to discuss the implications of these contentious bills, we have a panel of eminent academicians and economists with us. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome and introduce our panelists. We have Professor R.S. Deshpande, who is currently Honorary Visiting Professor ISEC Bangalore. He was formerly Rajiv Gandhi National Fellow, Indian Council of Social Science Research, ICSSR. He has been a policy advisor to both Government of Karnataka and the Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India. He was among the first two awardees as Fellow of the Indian Society of Agricultural Economics. Professor Deshpande has also received a Lifetime Achievement Award from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University. He has contributed significantly as a member of many policy bodies, including advisories to the Ministry of Commerce, Government of India, WTO cell, and so he has been on the advisory body of several government initiatives. Then we have Professor R. Vaidyanathan. Welcome, Professor R.S. Deshpande. I'm sorry, I forgot that. And Professor R. Vaidyanathan is a highly experienced academician who has recently retired after being part of the teaching staff at IIM Bangalore for around nearly 30 years. He was named one of the 10 best professors at all IIMs by Business Today magazine in 2006-2007. He is a committee member for committees for many regulatory bodies, including RBI, SEBI, PFRDA, and IRDA. He's also he's also on the boards of several corporates. Professor R. Vaidyanathan is now Chu S. Ramaswamy Visiting Professor of Public Policy at Shastra University, Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu. So welcome, Professor R. Vaidyanathan. Then we have Professor Mahendra Dev, who will be joining us a little later. And I will introduce him then. So now I would like to start our discussion with the first part of our farm bill, which sort of calls for that the APMC sales can happen outside the APMC. What are the gains you see from these bills, and whether these bills, the removal of the APMC, how it would affect the entire farming sector? So can I start with Professor R.S. Deshpande to give me your views on this? If you could give me your views on the entire farm bills, three farm bills together, how they would affect the entire agricultural sector, it would be nice. Okay, we can start with Professor Deshpande and then Professor R. Vaidyanathan.
I have organized it in this manner that I talk about the genesis, why this happened. The second thing, I talk about all different kind of things from 1991, how these ideas were put forth by both governments. It was UPA 1, UPA 2, everyone.
Okay.
And then I get into the experience. What is our experience in agriculture marketing? Why the necessity of the bill?
Okay.
Then the bills, I get into the key issues. That is the key takes from the bills, as you have asked, benefits.
Yes, certainly.
And then impact on the APMCs. Finally, the effective implementation, what it would require. Then what is the resistance? Why this resistance is coming? What exactly is impacting the farmer?
In fact, that was the questions. That is how the questions were framed.
Last is any expectation of revision coming in? This is your question. So these are the 7 points. Let me quickly, in 10 minutes, I'll give brief outline of it. There are 12 committees from 1992. The high-level committee in 1992, there was a high-level committee which based reforms in critical agricultural marketing issue. 1992, when Narasimha Rao government was in. Followed by that, there was another committee headed by Professor S.S. Acharya, who is one of the marketing experts in 1998. And the 12th Plan Working Group also talked about revising the entire scenario of the agricultural marketing. Then came in 2001, Shankarlal Guru Committee. Shankarlal Guru Committee submitted a huge report in 2002, giving the entire framework of agriculture marketing. And after that, the report on the Food Corporation of India. Then came the state ministers of agriculture. State ministers of agriculture under Sri Harshvardhan Patil of Maharashtra met and gave a report on the agricultural marketing scenario of the country. Then Abhijit Sen under the UPA 2 and UPA 1, both times he was a member of the Planning by Commission. Professor Abhijit Sen has given very clearly in the long-term grain policy about agricultural marketing and revamping of agricultural marketing. Right here, there is a report. Then there was a working group of the 12th plan under Gokul Patnaik, and Gokul Patnaik report in 2011 clearly stated that we need to step out of the present system of agricultural marketing. He did not say that you pass an act or pass an ordinance, nothing of that sort. But step out of the present, he was throttling. He used the word throttling agricultural marketing system. Finally, in then came the Agricultural Marketing and Farmers Friendly Reforms Index, in which the Niti Aayog calculated the Farmers Friendly Reform Index, and the best of the states which should perform have lowest Farmers Friendly Reform Index. Coming to the High Powered Committee of the Chief Minister headed by Fadnavis also recommended it. Now, these are 12 steps from 1991 onwards till now. Now, what are the important picks from some of these? Guru Committee says, the institution of regulated market has, however, achieved a limited success. These markets were supposed to ensure smooth and orderly development of agriculture marketing, but entered into a bureaucratization and throttling of the agriculturists. Guru Committee goes further, but then the Committee on Ministers in 2010, mark the year 2010, Committee of Ministers, private sector participation. Harshvardhan Patil headed that committee, a congressman. Private sector participation can further be encouraged by reforming various legislations which regulate agricultural marketing, particularly the Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee Act, by removing deterrent provisions therein and dismantling the barriers to agricultural trade. This is done by the ministers, agriculture ministers of all the states, and committee headed by Harshvardhan Patil. Followed by the committee, again the same committee, proposed agricultural produce interstate trade. Harshvardhan Patil committee said, allow the interstate trade And a development and a regulation bill should be introduced in the parliament. To start with, applied for a few perishable products and then to other products. Along with that, it goes on, and then we come to the Shant Kumar Committee on the Food Corporation of India. Shant Kumar Committee said that Food Corporation of India is spending significantly high amount in procurement and distribution. 2005, Professor Y.K. Alag, who was member of Planning Commission during Rajiv Gandhi's time and a famous agriculture economist, a wonderful person, recommended in 2005, the recommendation number 30, APMC Act be amended so as to increase the involvement of the private sector in development. You know why I am reading this? I am quoting verbatim from the reports for the reason that a large number of party people are opposing it, saying that it is anti-farmer. Now coming to the experience. The experience of agriculture marketing, let me tell you that it was during the year 1994 that I first time took to agriculture marketing in India. And a report at Gokhale Institute I had prepared, in which I had clearly stated that agriculture marketing has been one of the barriers for agricultural growth. Anyway, what were the barriers? Number one, low density of agriculture markets, 487 square kilometers, one market. And the Swaminathan Committee says 5 square kilometers. Licensing barriers. When I was doing for Competition Commission on onion, I found that for 2 decades, there are only 10 traders who are licensed in the APMC yard. 10 traders for 2 decades, their children and their relatives, only 10 traders. The third one, lack of market infrastructure. We call Bangalore as the hub of software. Yashwantpur market, when I was the Agriculture Prices Commission member of Karnataka, we visited Yashwantpur market and the farmers demanded an electronic weighing machine. A weighing machine which is electronic, because usually the weighing machines are on a rod they measure, and 2 millimeters difference makes 20 kgs difference. I saw it personally. And what was the cash on hand in Yashwantpur market? 2 crores was cash on hand on that day. Weighing machine, electronic weighing machine costs hardly 2,000 rupees, but they did not purchase it. Next, high incidence of market charges. The market charges are so much that there was a case of 10 crates of pomegranate. The farmer took it to the market and he finally got 9 rupees 75 paise, cutting down all the charges. Mahendra, welcome.
Good evening to all of you.
Welcome, Professor Mahendra Devji.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, sir.
MSP.
We have, I think what we have decided is initially each one of you would give us your views on the farm bills, the genesis, a little education for us. And then after that, we would take the questions one by one and then take it from there. Professor Deshpande has begun.
Minimum support prices certainly has been one of the things. And 1993, Professor Dantwala, he wrote saying that certain paraphernalia which we have created under the conditions, it was essential. Remember, Professor Dantwala was the first chairman of the Agriculture Prices Commission. We need to change this paraphernalia in order to accommodate new kind of changes in the economy. Professor Dantwala is no more, but his writing I have quoted several times. As far as MSP is concerned, the book that I said, I titled it as Moon in the Mirror, which means this is the story from Ramayana. That when Rama was crying for the moon, Dasharatha gave him a mirror in hand, and here is a moon. And Rama was very happy that I got a moon in hand. Minimum support prices is something like that. Even today, Siraj Hussain has written some time back, very recently in Financial Express, that how many people take advantage of minimum support prices. In fact, in 2002, I had done a study of 13 states on minimum support prices and found that hardly 7% farmers, randomly chosen, are aware of minimum support prices. In any case, the minimum support prices is like that moon in the mirror, and one doesn't have to speak. I'll speak about it a little later. Now, the 3 farm bills. First deals with the trade and commerce, allows freedom to the farmer to go anywhere and sell it.
Yes.
This freedom, it is argued that was already taken by the farmers, but not. It was not taken by the farmers, it was taken by the traders. Because traders used to go to the field, purchase the produce, and come and sell it wherever they want. That freedom was with them, not with the farmer. The second thing is, the methodology of APMC is such that there is hardly any freedom for the farmer to sell anywhere else other than in APMC. I say methodology in the sense that they bring their produce in the gunny bags. As soon as they enter the market yard, the gunny bags are vacated and the gunny bags vanish from the APMC yard. The produce is heaped together. I was on the enquiry committee of Sira firing in 1998 October 1998. In Sira APMC yard, there was a huge commotion and firing took place. Police killed 5 farmers and injured about 25-30. The reason was that the groundnut prices were such that even the seed prices were not covered. Forget about fertilizers, etc. The seed cost was not being covered, and therefore there was riot. Inquiring, farmer told, look here, that if we have to sell outside, we can't take it. The gunny bags are taken off. Second thing is that the market yard is at such a place that if we have to take it, our vehicles are not allowed nearby. Now the problem is that the methodology is such. Second thing, the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement. This is about the contract farming. The contract farming was introduced, but then it was unprotected. The title of the book which I showed you just now, the title is, again, I'm good at titles and content may not be that good. The title is Contract Farming and Tenancy Reforms, Entangled Without Tethers. Entangled without tethers. Now, why without tethers? In the sense that if there is no control on 2 dogs, Professor Mahendra Deo brings his dog is very docile, brings his dog for a walk, and I bring my dog for a walk, my dog is little ferocious. Without tethers, the 2 will entangle themselves. Contract farming and tenancy were entangled like that. It was necessary to separate it out, and here is a farm bill which allows the protection to the farmer, and it clearly states that no land shall be allowed to be taken away. Then the I'll not take up those things. Key takes from the farm reforms. The third bill is the Essential Commodities Act. Essential Commodities Act was largely used without any trigger. At what time it should be used, and the trigger was not decided. Now there is a trigger of 50 and 100% price rise. If there is a price rise above 50%, price rise about 100%, then the Essential Commodities Act comes into being. Otherwise, it is not. The commodities also have been listed out in the Act. Now, what are the important takes? Important takes is one of the very brilliant piece by Siraj Hussain, which tells us that MSP has hardly been effective. Hardly 8% of the farmers take advantage of it. Bihar and Kerala, which do not have APMCs, have the highest income per hectare for the farmer. Farmers can sell and buyers can buy from anywhere. farmers can either enter into a pre-harvest contract at a price at which they want it and sell it to the contractor. Now, the benefits that the farmer gets significantly sufficient amount out of the rupee of the consumer. Earlier, the farmer used to sell onion at 2 rupees 50 paise per kilo, and my wife was buying it at 25 rupees per kilo. Now that was the difference between, and within the market yard, Hubli market yard, and this particular thing I had done it for Competition Commission for onion, and in the APMC yard, it's very significant that if the trader is doing like this, which means that the price has to be sealed at 750 rupees. This is 750. If he is scratching his vest, it is 300. And this I could get it from Hubli market yard and Yeshwanthpur market yard. Each market yard has different signals for fixing the prices and cartels. We economists, or we the researchers, we go, is there a cartel? Do you discuss between yourself? They say, no, you see. And they are freely moving around. Nobody is talking to each other. They don't talk. We conclude that there are no cartels. The traders are free. They go around. They fix the price. The cartels operate far smartly than the economists or researchers can operate. Effective implementation of the reforms. There is a hitch here. The reforms or the act may not be effectively implemented because it has a problem that the agriculture happens to be a state subject, but then sufficient care is taken because under a particular entry 42, under entry 42 of the third list under 7th schedule of the Constitution, trade, commerce and marketing is allowed to be tackled by the central government. Similarly, the central list or union list also has an entry which allows trade and commerce of commodities to be tackled by the center. Now, there is a problem that a large number of people feel that it is state subject. Yes, as far as APMC Act is concerned, it is a state subject. And unless the states reform the Act, it will be difficult to implement it across the country. Those states which do not reform the Act may have the problem, but then finally, it is the states which have to reform the Act. I'll give a few things. Who is agitating and why? These are very important and very simple questions. Are farmers angry? Because now they can sell their produce to anyone they desire and even outside the state at a price at which they will decide and not the buyer. Are the farmers angry because of this? Second question. Are they angry because APMC has also MSP? Option is still open to them. The options are still open to them. But they are angry. Are they angry because options are open? Second, are the traders and commission agents angry because their income share has reduced significantly? Third question, are the politicians angry because up to now the APMC yards or APMC money was a green land for the politicians and the power came from there? Third, fifth one, are the APMC functionaries angry? Yes, they are angry because one of the farmer in Hiriyur market yard, he told me, sir, look at that man, his entire capital. He told me in Kannada and I'll say it in Kannada and translate it in English. Sir, avanu hogta idanalla, avanu enta ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂಡವಾಳ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಹೆಗ್ಗಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕಿರೋದು ಟಾವೆಲ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅವನ್ ಬಂಡವಾಳ. ಬರೀ ಲುಂಗಿ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಅವನ್ ಲುಂಗಿ ಒಳಗೆ ಇರೋದು 5,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ನಾನು ವರ್ಷ ಗಂಟ್ಲು ನೋಡಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಟುಡೇ alone he has earned 5,000 rupees out of the trading, and being a trader's person, I did not see it for the whole year. Then are the political leaders angry? Yes, they should be angry, because one of the important source of finances have gone out of the hand. When the farmers were happy, prices, were the farmers happy when they were getting APMC prices? Absolutely perfect. MSP was functioning very well. There was no problem. And if there were no problems, why was there firing in many places? And I calculated about 2,780 farmers are killed in firing over the last 10 years. And all this is because of the price agitations. If the present system was perfect, why was the agitation? And last one, are the corporates coming in going to set their shop right outside the APMC yard? Is it feasible? Is it possible? The next thing is that is there any revision required? Is the act fully tight? One thing is most required, that nobody shall buy below the MSP. That is one thing. If it was done in Maharashtra, that if somebody is found purchasing below MSP, then the person will be punished. The act was circumvented by the traders very interestingly, and I saw that the traders printed format that my mother / father / brother is seriously ill, I need the money, and hence I am ready to sell at the price at which we have negotiated, and sign of the farmer that is given to the trader, and the trader buys below the MSP. This was done in Maharashtra, and I have seen it with my own eyes, the printed forms. Now, that is one thing necessary. Second, the litigations would come out, and therefore the entry 14 in the state list says agriculture. It doesn't say agriculture market. Agriculture education, protection from pests and diseases are under the state list. Market is not. Trade and commerce is under the concurrent list, and therefore the entry 33 under concurrent list and entry 42 under the concurrent list clearly provide this union government to take an act. And Article 246 of the Constitution, 246.2, makes it that if the union government passes an act, it will not be superseded by the state act, and therefore litigation would take place. There will be litigation, and these litigations have to be dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Vaidyanathan is a very respected academician. He is currently Director and Vice Chancellor, IGIDR, Mumbai, India. He was the Chairman of the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices, Government of India, and he's also a member of the National Statistical Commission, a rank of Secretary to the Government of India. He has been a consultant and advisor to many international organizations such as UNDP and World Bank, ILO, FAO, and ESCAP. Professor Dev has more than 100 research publications in the national and international journals. So, welcome, Professor Dev. Professor Vaidyanathan, you would like to give your views first, or?
No, we all would like to listen to Dev after listening to
Okay. Sure, sir.
Am I right, Deshpandeji? We would like to listen to Dev. Right.
Okay, because we could have an introductory view from Professor Dev. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me for this discussion. Agriculture market reforms are important for raising the incomes of the farmers. The three bills which became law represent fairly important changes in market regulation. As you know, APMC system was inefficient, trader and middlemen dominated, political influence, mandi taxes, etc. So several people, including me, have been asking for these reforms. Even the Congress party has put in 2019 manifesto. So it gives freedom of choice to farmers and reduce the problems in APMC, and also raise private investment in agriculture, marketing and infrastructure, and encourage interstate trade. So one nation, one market kind of thing. But however, having said that, there are several issues to be sorted out on these bills on implementation. Because there are imperfections in market, and also several conditions are needed to if the reforms are to be successful, and also a lot of uncertainty is there. So on the three bills, some people are saying it's like 1991 delicensing, and some others are condemn completely the new bills. So the truth lies somewhere in between. It is not a new thing. We had APMC Model Act in 2003, 2007, 13, 17, and several state governments have already, done direct purchase. As mentioned earlier, Kerala and Bihar don't have APMCs. And also, it may be noted that only 1/4 of the produce is sold in APMC markets. So the rest is already done outside market, private traders at farm gate and other. So it's not as if entire thing was by APMCs. But Punjab and Haryana and all, they have more APMC. In percentage is much higher. So it's not a 1991 reforms or the kind of thing. It is continuous thing, but this time central government has done. It is more organized way and applicable to all India. So coming to specific bills, the farm produce, trade and commerce. So they're basically APMC and non-APMC areas. So almost free market in non-APMC areas and no tax. So basically they're saying price realization will be much higher, particularly non-APMC areas for farmers. What are the apprehensions? As we mentioned earlier also, MSP is one, will be removed and big corporates will control the trade. These are the two apprehensions. But also, this agriculture doesn't mean MSP. I mean, the moment we say agriculture, people say MSP. We have to move beyond MSP. The MSP, as mentioned, only 10% of the farmers get. So it's not MSP, but we have to go beyond. So why people are worried is that also some committees like Shantakumar committee said that replacing FCI and PDS with cash transfers. So which the government, under BJP government, they did. The committee was formed. So with this, these reforms, they think that APMC and procurement will go away. So that's the worry they're having. But it's not going away. MSP will be there, but mostly concern of the Punjab and Haryana. So we have to go beyond Punjab, Haryana. But MSP also, I was chairman of the CSCP. We know that, it covers only few states and few crops, basically rice and wheat and Punjab, Haryana and some other states. So all other crops, there are so many crops, more than 100 or several crops. And then CSCP gives 23 crops, the MSP. But so it's more Punjab Bihar problem, and other states have different mechanisms. So basically, the another question is that what will be the price in non-APMC area? Because so far, For example, some of the companies procure reference price is APMC price, MSP or other price. So if APMCs are weakened, so what will be the difference?
So ultimately, by saying there are evidences like mob lynchings are taken.
APMC traders also may shift, because there are no, if they are weakened. So instead of unifying, you may have different prices. Depends on the supply and demand. So that is one issue. On corporate taking over, the power is generally with the big players. Internationally, there are cartels. Dairy cooperatives in the US, and cereal trade is also, cartels are there. But in India, it is very difficult to predict because organized retail is very low in India. Still 45% or less. Maximum 10%. So it's clear that just because these reforms are done, big players will come, and start business immediately. And of course, if they come, they can crowd out competition. But many times, what happens is, they act with the cooperatives and middlemen for aggregating from the small farmers and others. So the middlemen may not go away. Middlemen are traders, even in non-APMC areas, because even the companies, they come, they deal with this middlemen and corporate cooperatives or thing. And also farmers goes to trader because of interlinked credit markets. In economics, we talk about this interlinked credit markets. So they give credit and other kinds of inputs. So they have to sell it to them. So those things may not be done immediately. And also Bihar has abolished APMC, but the one study by NCIR showed that there not much improvement in the price realization. There is a price volatility and all. So what is needed is there is no infrastructure there. So development of private markets outside APMC is important. In fact, some people say it's a precondition for these reforms, because now it is done very unorganized way. Private traders come to farmgate prices, farmgate place, and then but now we need more infrastructure there. So another thing is, we have small and marginal farmers, 86% of the total. So how can they compete with the big corporates?
Yes,
so
that is a concern.
Yeah. So one solution is that the farmer producer organizations.
Yes.
So government is saying 10,000, but you need not 10,000, even 1 lakh needed farmer producer organizations. It is true the performance of FPOs has not been good in the last few years. Some are doing well and some are not doing well. But we have to,
aggregate these farmers.
Develop them. Capability of these FPOs have to be increased. We have to have training programs for them. So that is very important. And also, the farmers' share of retail price depends on the commodity. Food grain, for example, lots of subsidies are there. So they get almost equal to retail. MSP and other things. But in sugar and milk also, they get about 75% or so. Because milk, no subsidies, nothing, but still they get. But the problem is with tomatoes, potatoes, and onions, they get only 30% of the retail price. So that's where the main problem is there. So coming to last 2-3 minutes.
Yes.
On second bill, presently also contract farming is there. Many places we still have. Pepsi with potato farmers and several orange growers, and in several examples. But some of them are unwritten. So now they are saying more legal kind of thing will come, and then some states were regulating earlier, but now it will be a total kind of thing. And also they are saying farmers can break away the contract. If they want a higher price outside, they can break away, but the company cannot break away once the contract is done. So some facility is there. But on the other hand, of course, the problem of small and marginal farmers. How do they compete with this, big farmers?
Bigger corporates, yeah.
Contract, because they will have much better lawyers and better thing if they want to break the contract. And also, the collector is supposed to, have a dispute mechanism kind of thing. Whether collector helps the small and marginal farmers or big companies, so one has to see that. And lastly, on Essential Commodities Act, basically, as Dr. Deshpande mentioned, that now they have 50 to 100% or something. It increases, then we have this thing. But also there are apprehension that the corporate sector may go much more, and then prices may increase open market, but farmers may not get much. But also recent onion ban is inconsistent with this essential commodities thing.
Yes.
That. So to conclude, as Dr. Deshpande also mentioned, it's a state subject, the agriculture. But the Act, of course, first one is more concurrent list, the interstate and those things. But states have to be involved, because that is one problem probably they didn't discuss too much with the states. Because it's a federal structure, states are the most important, and agriculture is a state subject. Some incentives, of course, in the Finance Commission, they're having. Suppose you do the reforms, we'll give more grants and all. But they have to be, sit with them, and then because they are the people who will implement this. And also more communication may be needed with the farmers, because it should not be just political, but I think more communication is important. But we have to keep in mind the interests of small and marginal farmers, finally, because they are the most marginalized sections. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So Professor Vaidyanathan, please give me your views on the 3 farm bills. Yes.
See, after the excellent enunciation by both of them, Deshpande ji and Mahendra, I don't have much to add actually. They have elaborately mentioned about various positive aspects as well as constraints, and what is the way ahead in terms of some improvements which should be attempted. Another thing, I only look at it as an important thing. What is popularly known in economics as law of one price. A product at every place should be sold at the same price with the similar characteristics, except for transportation, insurance, and all the things. But because some sort of cartelization is there in APMC, which I have also physically observed actually, and I think earlier, if I remember, Deshpande ji very nicely told how the cartelization function, not in terms of writing, but in terms of touching the air or touching the register. So the process of cartelization prevents this price thing. Second is many a time, for instance, as he mentioned, I think 2,000 plus type of people have been shot and have died in the riots, the farmers. If it is really beneficial to them, why would they riot? It is not actually, many a time actually. And also we find the gap between the price at which it is sold and finally what I buy in the nearby my departmental store is phenomenally high. Actually, in some items like horticulture item, it is as high as 200% actually. In the case of these and some of these cash crops. Third is farmers are aware, not one theory I don't buy, because at least I have seen quite a lot of farmers in the, I don't know about the up north, but the southern belt, they are reasonably knowledgeable nowadays. It's not that, like the old, Bollywood film farmers who is just, dumb. But I have seen a lot of farmers who are very, very well versed and knowledgeable, and either farmers or their children, they have all got a good amount of information and education. And this segmented market, I think, is not desirable for a country. If you ask me personally, I would say agriculture should be a central subject, just like your share market. And for instance, if you recall, we had 21 stock exchanges in the country. Not many people even remember this actually. And there used to be a massive arbitrage. People used to buy from Bombay and sell at Bhubaneswar or Guwahati, and like this is this spatial arbitrage is only benefiting the middle people. Once the National Stock Exchange came and the BSE also started the Bolt and other thing, the whole thing has changed now. All the arbitragers have gone out of business. So there is nothing much, because anybody can get into the software and then go and trade in the Bombay order book. So that's not a. I am told, I was reading economic survey for the last budget thing. 13 states have already committed for the online trading all over the country. 13 states have already agreed for it. Some states are now formulating, and another 4 or 5 states are also planning to join. So if the national market develop, it would be a phenomenally beneficial thing to the farmers, because every year I read somewhere or other, nearby in Karnataka, near Bangalore, excess tomato, and then they throw it on the road, and then the truck is run on that, and all the TV crew is called, and then they go and take a photograph of tomatoes which are damaged. This is a very, something or other comes. And then there is a small group, I think if I remember, Deshpande ji nicely mentioned, some 7 or 8 fellows are only licensed for a period of 2 decades. Can you believe this? It's a highly, it's not a regulated, it is a regulated power 10 market of these individuals. So surplus deficit has to be, if in Bhopal the onion is say, let's say 8 rupees, and in Kottayam it is 40 rupees, I think there should movement of onion to Kottayam, so that some amount of equalization will take place. There is no point in Bhopal telling you can't take out onion, or the other fellows telling you can't bring it in. And these are, see what EU, European Union, could not attempt for a period of something like 88, they started actually to have a single market. They could not succeed. I think we should sincerely do it. We are, after all, we are a single country only. There is no need for us. And then about this issue of what you may loosely call this corporate, all are shouting. The other day in some TV channel, one fellow was shouting corporate. I told him the TV channel is owned by a corporate. So those don't shout too much here, right? So for instance, already, sugarcane is sold to corporates. Who else is buying it? Comrades are not buying it. Only corporates are buying it. And this, chicken in the place I know here nearby, in what do you call Tamil Nadu. The whole chicken farming is based on this contract farming only. The prior to the rearing itself, the price is fixed, and there is obviously there is a reduction, significant reduction. The companies lose actually, because they have to buy it at that price. If there is increase, the farmers have to forego. This is a very standard procedure in the futures market in terms of loss reduction versus foregoing some amount of. And again, some people say if the prices go up and the farmers are not agreeing, or again, I have a feeling basically there is a romantic notion of a farmer who is some fourth class and who get whipped by the landlord, and those items are still in the minds of the people. A lot of farmers are very, very well understanding the matters and other things. So contract farming or the corporate thing is not something new, except in some of the other product lines also it would come. The last is about this essential. See, we had a massive deficit situation throughout the 60s and mid 70s. I remember as a schoolboy going and standing in queue. I have to keep a stone on the queue in the night in order to go in the morning to procure rice. This was the actual situation. There was a massive, and that was one of the reason in 67 Congress lost in many places, including in Tamil Nadu. There was a crisis, and there are, for instance, for milk, I have to go and get coupon. Government agencies alone will give the coupon, and I have to procure it, and then the milk used to come in bottles you carry in a small cart or something. So there was a massive, we operated under the deficit. Unfortunately, I should say, including myself, a large number of the bureaucrats and very senior level position, they all grew up during the deficit life. So they are still in that deficit economy mindset, including foreign exchange. Now we have 500 billion, $500 billion of foreign exchange. And I think I shouldn't use the strong word. Nobody knows how to use this now. It's invested in some, 1.5%, 2% international security. Because again, we grew up in the deficit of foreign exchange. So we still think. So there is actually large, today, any town in the country, in the afternoon also you can go to a shop and get milk in a carton or in a plastic bag. There is the days of standing in queue is over. So I think the most humble suggestion for me is for bureaucrat to how to manage surplus economy. This is, I think, is a much more complicated thing than how to manage a deficit economy. You can employ police and do firing and prevent people. Or surplus is much more complicated. For instance, I have seen in my own eyes, both in Bengal, even in Punjab, many of these so-called cold storages, which are supposed to help the storing of the like egg or any of the item, and then many cold storages could not function. There was no power. They were being used like your, like Godrej Almera, the storing the thing. Cold storage imply power. This was financed by World Bank. On one study, when I was at IIM, I was involved to do the study. We found, so there is, managing surplus is very complicated. According to me, I think our mindset should also change. And we should be in a position to move from one, either use it for food processing or whatever purposes, or from a deficit to a surplus. And actually, if free movement is there, there is no need for hoarding. If in another location, say in Kanpur, the prices of the aloo is much higher, automatically it will be moved to Kanpur. There is no need for you to, because hoarding implies your carrying cost, inventory cost, insurance, and all the things by the corporate. So I think overall, I think we are in a moving in a correct direction. This is not something, according to me, this is not something which is new. Both of them enunciated how from 1990s, innumerable number of committees have suggested changes in this whole system. And even today, APMC is not, according to me, if it is there, it is there. If somebody wants to sell there, they can go on. There is no ban on it or something like that. So that is something which we should take cognizance of. It's not something which is. Similarly, the ability of the farmer to sell it outside also. MSP, everybody is insisting MSP should be enacted. To the best of my small understanding, MSP was never part of the legislative process. I don't think MSP, it was purely an administrative mechanism which various governments utilized it, and you can't have an MSP in the legislative process and tie your hands or anything like that. So that is also, and both of them highly, I would rather appreciate enormously. The amount sold under MSP is not, very high, very, very small percentage only. So I think we should move to a new trajectory in agriculture. It is quite possible. And I think the fear of this corporate is, because even today, after all this arrival of the big mall and all these things, organized trade is not even 10%. It's a Kirana shop fellows are still going gungo and going strong only. So I think we enormously create a worrisome situation that entire, Walmart will come and set up something and procure all the farmers. It's not quite possible at all. People don't understand. Our market is so large, so big. Actually, it's not easy for one fellow or two fellows to, and it has regional variation. It has so many amount of varieties. The cuisine is different. Idli dosa is not the common dish all over the country. So the ingredients for it are, there is a focused type of thing. Actually, our markets are segmented by our taste and our desires and our way of living. It's not segmented, need not be segmented by the government actually. So there is I think some amount of fear is created about this corporate cup. As I told you, people sitting in the television room owned by corporate are telling corporate. I don't understand at all. Anyhow, I think on the whole, it is a very positive thing. And as both of them mentioned, some course correction is definitely required as we go along. And I'm very, very sure as experience gains, something or other will crop up and some amendments will be made, another thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to put a question to the participants. The middlemen in the APMC yards also act as money lenders to the farmers. They provided other facilities to the farmers. So how do you see this changing? I'd like to put that question to Professor Deshpande as to see how would you see this changing in terms of that middleman, that function he performs. How will that change for the farmer now? How will it work from now?
You see, therefore, I call it as a culture of agriculture. It will take a little time to get out of the shackles of these artyas. You call them middlemen, but these are in the common sense called artyas. The artya gives advance to the farmer for many purposes. Very smartly, we created Kisan Credit Card. Very smartly. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. And the Kisan goes to the bank with a Kisan Credit Card. Ask the banker, इसमें कितना मिलेगा मेरे को ये कार्ड में? इसमें साहब आपको भैया 18,000 रुपए मिले, हाँ दे दो, एक ही बार दे दो, हाँ दे दो. 18,000 रुपए लेके बाहर आता है, टेलीविजन खरीदता है और बाद में आड़तिया के पास में जाके पैसे लेता है. The problem is that along with Kisan Credit Card, we did not say that it should be staggered. Second thing is that the farmer is more sincere than the urbanites. Farmer wants to repay back his loans, repay back his debt. Have you seen any urbanite who could not repay back his house loan committing suicide? No, they don't. The farmer is sincere, altruistic, and that is the advantage taken by these artyas. Very interestingly, again, bringing back Professor Dantwala said that we do create paraphernalia for constructing a house. We construct beautiful hall, bedroom, etc. Do we keep the structure of those bamboos, cement, etc. as it is? Don't we change? Now, the same thing. So V.M. Rao used to give an example that for a child to walk, a small wooden thing was prepared and given. Now, after the child starts walking and going to the college, does he go by that? Exactly. 1954, on the concurrent list, this entry 33 was done by the Third Amendment. You know the discussion on the Third Amendment. Why was it to be done? Because some of the states refused to send the product to another state, and therefore it was put on the concurrent list. Apart from that, the wagons were not sufficient enough. Now, the debate at that time was that we should not put it on the concurrent list, allow it on the state list. It was not in the concurrent list. Unfortunately, many people do not understand this. Another interesting thing, which I forgot, and audience may be interested. Punjab, Haryana is very agitating strongly agitating. I had done 2002, I had done a study on impact of MSP in the country. 13 states were participating, 100 farmers from each state, and all the 100 were asked different questions. A very big report was done. At that time, Kamal Pandey was the Secretary Agriculture. Afterwards, he was the Cabinet Secretary. When the report was presented, he said that this report shall not be made public, for the reason that I had argued in the report that it is high time now to wind up all this business and allow the market to function. This was in 2002. Because a Punjab farmer was preferring to sell at MSP, which was lower than the market price. Listen carefully. A Punjab farmer was, on an average, Punjab farmers sold on MSP when the market prices were higher than MSP. Very strange. I had gone to Ambala market, in order to find out what is the problem. And we, the so-called academics, we don't understand simple thing. In the market, I take 10 quintals of wheat. The wheat is of C grade. The moment I enter, it becomes B grade. The price is slightly higher. After that, I get a chit for 15 quintals. I have brought 10 quintals. I get a chit for 15 quintals. 5 quintals is shared between that person who is a MS. Don't think that all of them are very sachas, very sincere fellows. No. They are rich fellows and they are the agitators. They are the agitators because their income source is closed. Now a farmer can sell it outside. The problem is, same thing was true in Bihar, but Bihar stopped APMC. Now, NCAR study says that there is no price difference, but then there is no exploitation. Price difference is different. Exploitation has gone off because the Artya used to buy it at 2 rupees and sell it at 8 rupees. That is gone. Now the price difference is not much. He is getting 7 rupees, maybe 1 rupee less. But still, the market functionaries are functioning well. That is something. And this is Kailash Saraf had called it as long back. Interlocking of markets. The interlocking of product and credit market.
Yes.
And the interlocking of markets is something which is a very strong. Labor and credit market is interlocked. Product and credit market is interlocked. Product and labor market is interlocked.
So you're saying that there will be substitutions automatically, and you really don't need the government to be sort of providing the walker to the farmer to make it happen.
It will take a little time.
Function.
It will take a little time because culture of agriculture is such that if I am saying, if I am connected with Professor Mahendra Dev, and if Professor Mahendra Dev says that the curtain behind me is of blue color, I'll say, it seems to be. It may be red color. The reason is that this cultural bondage between the Artyas, between those middlemen and the farmer, will take time to dissolve. It will take time to dissolve. It will not dissolve all of a sudden.
So the fear of the APMC vanishing is also not true then in the fullest sense.
It is absolutely not true. There is nothing like that in the act.
I'd like to hear Professor Dev's views on the same. One
addition I would like to make quickly, if you don't mind. I wrote a book on India Unincorporated. That time we were doing a survey, and we found that, believe me, out of 100 rupee of credit required in the country, only 50 to 52 rupees is given by banks. The remaining comes from money lenders, chits, various type of NBFCs, small NBFCs, and various things.
Yes, absolutely.
And in Bangalore at that time, 2004-05, we found that roughly 70 crore is our estimated cash bribe by the state government generated in Bangalore alone, one city at that time, I'm telling. And And a lot of cash comes, bribe is through the POPs, land registration, RTO, various type of things. And I was curious with my research, where does this money go? Is it all stored in cupboards or something? We found mostly it goes to financing of the trade. Whether it is Kalawala, whether it is vegetable vendor, whether it is flower vendor, and also it goes to APMC. And this is linked with politicians up to minister level and other. So the financing of the so-called Aratyas is through also the huge amount of black money generated
money that
at government employees. That's this is a source of fund. That's a use
Source
of
of
fund.
funds for them.
Sources and uses of fund. So it is not. So it's a very. That is why, according to me, good amount of opposition in states where mandis are very powerful, like APMC, or like even Haryana, Punjab, and other, because they thrive on this lending, and sometimes the rate could be 4 to 6% per month. It's a very high amount of rate,
huge.
because it's not based on any major documentation or anything. Mostly oral. So that is some which you should.
Sure.
Unless the formal financing.
Professor Dev, can you please give me your views? I'm sorry.
This on the middlemen and traders. As I mentioned earlier, also I think it will take time. I don't think even in non-APMC areas you can't remove them immediately. Because of this interlocking credit markets and all. This 52% Dr. Vaidyanathan was telling is average, but smaller farmers get 70% or so from outside, from the traders. So and also even the corporates, when they enter, they use these people for aggregating and these things.
Correct, because they won't have access to the small farmer themselves.
Because you can't have 200, 500 small farmers and deal with them. So these middlemen are still there. The secondly, on APMCs, I know because for example, Punjab gets 4,000 crores from the Mandi.
Yes, that was my next question actually, as to what will happen to the state's incomes which are coming from there.
Yeah. So that some compensation has to be done if they want to weaken the APMCs. And also, it's as Dr. Deshpande mentioned earlier, it is under state subject, APMC. So now Rajasthan is doing the entire state, they want to make it APMC. So there is no non-APMC area.
Okay.
Because they will get tax.
Yes.
So in that way, they want to weaken the central bill. The thing. So the states may do this kind of things now.
These kind of things they will do. And
lastly, on MSP, there are two agricultures in India. One is the cereal-based and the other non-cereal-based. But support is given to cereal-based. Rice and wheat. Subsidies, free water, free electricity, everything is given to rice and wheat. So that's why the diversification is not happening in Punjab and Haryana, because it's a lazy man crop. They'll say you grow rice and wheat and get MSP. So whereas the other crops, as mentioned earlier, in tomatoes, for example, I was talking to some farmers in Andhra Pradesh. They are getting 1 rupee per kilo tomato, whereas in Bombay, Hyderabad or somewhere, we buy for 50 rupees or 60 rupees. So the gap is so high that we pay, consumers pay higher, but farmers get very low prices. So there, the non-cereals, I think there are no institutional mechanisms, and no one has to improve how the farmers could get this high prices. That way, these bills will be helpful, but not. It may take medium term and all for having infrastructure is needed. All those things, grading and several things are needed.
Okay. Professor Dev, how long do you think this entire change in culture and the entry of the private sector in a large way into agriculture would take? Because today they're saying they won't, the private sector contracts or the sale to private sector would not attract any tax like mandi tax and everything that is charged currently in APMC. So there is the fear of high substitution with the private sector of the APMC. So is that likely, or how long is it likely to take, or some view on that, on the time?
I mean, APMC, immediately there is no threat. Because it is APMC will be there, but it may weaken. It depends on how the non-APMC develops. It will take time, because the private sector also will see the for example, organized credit is only 5% or between 5 and 10%. So if you want to make it 20% or so in the next few years, it will take time, but it may come also. I mean, some private may enter now, and also interstate trade is allowed, and also much more easier than before. So some things may happen, but we have to see, maybe next year we can have same seminar. I mean, this webinar. What is the impact of these reforms?
Yes, certainly. We should see that. It would be interesting to see how quickly the farmer changes and how quickly he moves from the APMC walker, as Professor Deshpande called it. So we would love to see that next year. Sure, we should have one like that. Professor Deshpande, I would also like to understand, do you see the next reform as removal of MSP in some form for the cereals? Like whatever support has been given is largely to the cereals and the pulses. So, but is that removal of MSP likely, and whether it will affect at least the Punjab and Haryana farmers? Yes, it will affect. To what extent it will affect? Do you see removal of MSP in the near future?
First thing, why did MSP start at all?
Yeah.
It started with the Jha Commission. Jha Committee recommended that in order to meet the public distribution system's demand, we need to procure. So at that time, there was a levy. Everything from the farmer was procured at a dictated price by the government. That was levy price. Then there was the procurement price. And then there was a minimum support price. The procurement price and minimum support price went off. Afterwards, MSP became a tool of politicians. In the sense. Again, I quote Professor V.M. Rao's paper in Indian Journal of the Indian Society of Political Economy, Indian School of Political Economy. Professor V.M. Rao showed that the declaration of MSP is much later than the harvest. So there is no use of it, because by the time people have sold a lot. Apart from that, what is recommended by chairman like Professor Mahendra Dev and what is declared by the government, there is a significant gap, which means the poor professor sitting in the chairman's seat and spending midnight lamp and writing out the report and then finally saying that you fix the price at 1650 per quintal, and then the minister says 1650 kaisa hoga, ye to nahi, 2200 karna padega, and then 2000 mein kaam chhut jata hai. This person has spent his time, and this is what you see the debates. You see the debates. What is recommended price, and over time this gap is reducing, for the reason that a large number of people are realizing that there is a problem with MSP implementation. So what you say is, will MSP stay? I have my own doubts, for one reason, that MSP machinery itself is oddly prepared. Second, that not many people participate in MSP. Third, when the market price is going to be much higher and is available across the state, the people will not. I did an experiment myself from Mysore. About 20 farmers were gathered together to sell watermelons They got watermelons together, filled a wagon and sold it in Delhi. Each one got 1 lakh excess, 1 lakh extra income. Now, the moment people come to know about it, they would do it. And this is likely to happen. That will be automatic closure. There is no necessity of any act of closure of MSP. But then we forget that while constructing the houses, we create a paraphernalia with bamboo, sticks, boards, etc. After the construction of the house, this needs to be removed. Indian culture is that we do not remove anything. It stays there. Exactly like that, a lot of our paraphernalia has stayed. I would add one sentence more. If at all farmer has remained poor, the APMC is the major reason for that.
Okay.
But on MSP, they are interlinked with the PDS.
Okay.
So as long as public distribution system is there, the
MSP will also stay for that much time.
both have to be removed.
The government may have to buy it at the market price then.
Market price do that.
Yeah, correct. That is also true. So, Professor Vaidyanathan, you spoke about now us living in a surplus economy as against deficit economy, which actually dictated all these practices. So, how do you see the market changing now that the government has made it a law that you can do everything and you will have a legal, a legal contract, enforceable contract, which will make it possible? So, how do you see the market changing for the small farmer in terms of selling his produce?
You see, this is another, our what do you call, like the poor people, small farm. This is another one of our very important. You see, in many, at least in my state, I find being a small and marginal farmer is becoming more and more unattractive. Actually,
Yes.
you are better off being an agricultural laborer today. I know a lot of my relatives. What has happened is, with 3-4 children, the land getting parceled and small units. It's not a very attractive because you have to worry about fertilizer, you have to worry about pesticide, you have to worry about seed. And if you are an agricultural laborer, you just go and work. You don't have to. And then and today the wages are not as told in the cinema or anything. Today they are in a very liberalized type of a scheme. So what I think is the consolidation will take place. The small and the marginal farmer. And many of the places you visit in interior, there are no youngsters. Only old people are sitting in the cot in the villages. All the youngsters have gone away. In southern portion, I would say they have gone to Philadelphia. In northern portion, they have all gone to Bombay or Coimbatore. Where are the youngsters to work in the, some of these are not understood. So this will, according to me, this will consolidation will take place over a period of time by either contract or non-contract or anything. And that will, if you ask me, I shouldn't use that strong word. The so-called small and marginal farmer, they constitute, I don't know, maybe Deshpande and Mahendra Dev can
82%.
86.
80%, and they are a dying species. They will go away. It will get huge.
Let me add one simple information to what Professor Vaidyanathan is saying. The simple information is that between 91 and 2011, 5 million farmers, cultivators, I would call them cultivators. This is very interesting piece of information, which I used in one of my publications earlier. 5 million cultivators have left cultivation. This is from the population census data. In population census, we have cultivators and agriculture laborers. So if you take 91 population census and 2011 population census, 50 lakh farmers have, cultivators are not there. But agriculture laborers have increased.
And Vipulji, another important thing, sir, many people confuse rural with agriculture.
Yes, it is not.
A lot of activities in rural today is not agriculture. tractor repair and this repair. I know one of the lemon farmer, the son, I asked whether he, no sir, he is into mobile phone, charging, repairing and other thing. He has set up a shop there. So rural, I think we should not confuse rural with agriculture. Some people, I always call it POTA data. POTA is pulled out of thin air. Just 70% of our rural population is suffering, and it's very good and dramatic. But many of them have gone into so many auxiliary activities in rural areas. And
yes, I think that was also
you don't find a difference between rural and urban at all today.
Yes,
you travel in a car or something on the highway, all are whatever activities are in the so-called urban are also available in the
rural areas.
As he rightly told Deshpande ji, I think Mahendra Dev ji also will agree. So many people are coming out of this whole thing. They are getting into, because so many new avenues have also come. It's not that they are all unemployed or anything.
I'm just asking as to how will this aggregation happen? Because opportunities for aggregation are there. I mean, you have a possibility of a contract farmer or something happening. So how will this aggregation actually happen?
It is already happening. Large number of places. Yeah, I don't know whether it is legal or illegal. I know adjacent to Bangalore, contract farming is very much happening in practice.
Yeah, everywhere. Everywhere.
Okay, sir, we have some questions from the participants. I'll just take them. There is the corporate sector is coming in, but how will the interest of the farmer be protected is the question. So, Professor Dev, can you please take this question?
Yeah, I mean the corporates, of course, first will they come at all? I mean that is
yes.
If they come, this farmer producer organizations is one where you can aggregate them and then bargain with these people, because small farmer with the 2 bags of produce, they cannot bargain.
Yes.
So that is one way of doing that. And then of course the contract farming and those kind of things, legal things are. So that way they can. It is true that corporates may have better bargaining power, but still at the farm level, if you have this infrastructure and this farmer producer organizations, and then the contract farming kind of thing can benefit the small and marginal farmers.
Okay. Professor Deshpande, there's one more question. As the infrastructure will be built by the corporates today, if the private sector, sort of replaces the role of the APMC, so how will that translate to more value for the farmer? Bulk of the value in that chain will be taken by them. What is the fear?
People don't understand the difference between the APMC method of auctioning and corporate method of purchasing.
Yes.
Corporate method of purchasing is negotiated method of purchasing, whereas APMC is still Hatta system. Hatta in the sense old age, there used to be a cloth under which they used to decide the price.
Yes.
Hatta system was that today the chits are prepared and put. Now it is a very systematic way of cheating the farmer. The smaller the heap, higher the price. The larger the heap, lower the price. And if there are 11 traders who have put the chits in APMC yard, I calculated what is called coefficient of concordance. The coefficient of concordance was 0.99, and that's how I suspected that there is a cartel.
Yes.
Which means that all of them are quoting almost same price for the same heap. 2 rupees difference here and there. This will not happen with the corporate because they will say that this is the price at which we are purchasing. Either you sell or you don't sell. Now the farmer can also tell that this is the price at which I am giving. You buy it or you go back. The thing is, ITC is buying today. Regularly they buy, and
Each
they do
of
sell
us.
it. And there are farmers' heart, directly farmer marketing. They come and sit on one day. Every city there is a farmer heart where
Yes.
farmers come and sell it directly. They get better price. They get better price for their vegetables. This is only for vegetables nowadays, but it will happen to the grain. I actually laugh at this because corporates coming into this, which means that there was a larger business here, which earlier was garnered by somebody else, and now somebody else is taking. Therefore, I am having a jealousy. The problem is that if corporates are going to benefit the farmer, why not? Why should I be
Yes.
jealous?
Correct. Yeah. So, there is another question which is asking, why are there more concerns, more protests in the northern states as against the other states? If Professor Dev would like to answer that.
Basically, it's a Punjab Haryana problem because the MSP they get much more. I mean, the almost 90% of the rice and wheat farmers they get from MSP. So, and then infrastructure is also good there, and then the political thing also much more because they will lose revenue. The thing. So that's why much more in North India, particularly Punjab, Haryana. So, but once you move away from this MSP and Punjab, Haryana, one should remember there are many other 30 states outside Punjab, Haryana.
Yeah, there are, yes. And there it will be effective.
MSP is really beneficial in Punjab and Haryana as compared to any other state. Because the system is so nicely overhauled that the farmer gets 1.5 times price of his crop. Then why not he sell it at MSP? If he takes 10 quintals and gets for 15 quintals, why should he sell it for
why not
MSP?
say, yeah, correct. Effectively, he's getting much more. Yes.
Dr. Deshpande, as chairman, I used to go to different states. But other states, there is no security. But in Punjab, Haryana, there used to be 2 policemen with pistols and with me because they're political.
So we can imagine what goes on there. Yes.
That is a very good indicator of the state of things, right?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
No, unfortunately, this cannot be written. Unfortunately,
Yes.
this cannot be written because you need a videographed evidence for it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have videographed evidence.
Yeah.
Therefore, I cannot tell you, but I know it very well. What happens? I'll tell you about onion market. For onion, for Competition Commission, what I did was from Hubli, Yashwantpur, Indore, Lasalgaon, Nashik, Azadpur. I had gone through Rajasthan, Jaipur. I had gone through many markets, and I found that the cartels operate in the best possible manner. Second thing is Yevla. Professor Mahendra knows Yevla is 1.5 hours from Nashik. In Yevla, onion is sold at 18 rupees at the farm gate. In Nashik, it is 48 rupees at the APMC. 1.5 hours difference.
Correct. Professor Vaidyanathan, one last question. How will there is a fear that the land of the farmers will also no longer, they will be also at risk. So,
I think,
how do you see that?
if I remember correctly, both Devji as well as Deshpande clearly mentioned the segregation between contract for the product and the tenancy of the land thing has been very clearly demarcated. Am I right, Devji?
Yes, yes. In the contract farming, the second act very clearly mentioned that land cannot be taken away.
Alienated. That has been clearly demarcated. I don't think there is any concern or worry. And let me again and again repeat: farmers are not totally dumb or totally what one can call zero labor. Not now. Not in 2020. If you had seen 1940, okay, people still see those Raj Kapoor movies. And then, okay, Bharat, and the life is not so much change has taken place. This is what is puzzling to me always. Whenever we talk of farmer, people assume that they are totally, no, they are not. I can assure you about it. They are shrewd. Only thing is, as Deshpande ji correctly told, they have more tendency to return the loans comparatively to the urban. One reason I will tell you for that is the fear of God, which most of the middle class elite neither have a fear of law nor the fear of God. The farmers may not know law much, but fear of God is still there. And that is the one. Many bankers have told me that they come and return small loans also because of fear of God. Unless instigated by the local political fellows, don't go and return the money, I will take care of it. Otherwise,
but we also had a lot of farm loan waivers also that have helped in that. In the sense, farm loan waivers have actually destroyed that credit culture which was there, which is internally there in the farmers is getting spoiled by that and the political intervention. So thank you very much.
Local MLAs instigate them, don't, I will take care of it. It's the problem.
Correct. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It was such a lively and very educational for us. And we learned a lot also, and we know what actually happens, how we are being misled by the protests and the media views and various things. We hope this will be a positive for the sector, and we see a lot of positive news coming from the agriculture sector as against the suicides and the other things that we constantly heard. So I hope we meet for a webinar again after a year and also see whether
one good point I should add is during this pandemic, that is the sector which seems to be doing well actually.
Yes. It was our savior. It was our savior.
This is a something very interesting, and I think with that happy note, we should. They seem to be pulling up all other segment of the economy, right? They are showing always a positive growth rate, quarter to quarter, another thing. In spite of all this, what you may loosely call this China virus, another thing, right? Good.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
learned a lot
Thank you very
from
much.
both of those agricultural experts.
Thank you,
very
Professor Dev. Thank you, Professor Deshpande, and thank you, Professor Vaidyanathan. Thank you very much.
Nice.
And
thank you.
And thank you all the participants for participating in this webinar of Brickwork Ratings. We will be coming with many more such webinars, and thank you very much. Okay, thank you.